Chapter 12. How to Succeed in a Man's World by Really Trying. It doesn't matter if you're married, single, widowed, or divorced. If you are a woman, you walk a unique path in the world of business. This is because the world is still a man's world. The most obvious illustration of this is the pocketbook. Nearly half of the nation's workforce is female. 53% of all women over the age of 16 are working or seeking work outside of the home, and yet women earn an average of 70.6 cents for every dollar earned by men. I'm often asked how I was able to beat these odds and succeed in a man's world. I can only tell you that when I started my own business, I was middle-aged, had varicose veins, and had no time to fool around. Much of my attitude about myself and the kind of career I could pursue came from an exceptional woman, my mother. She never once told me, "You can't." During my first marriage, I realized my long-awaited dream of attending college, and at that time, I wanted to be a doctor. These were the days when other mothers were telling their daughters to shoot for more realistic goals, but my mother was telling me, "Go ahead." She had been a nurse and realized that nurses were the second-class citizens in the health profession, handmaidens to the doctors. She didn't want that for me, so she said, "Be a doctor." As I told you, my plans changed, and I had made my way in a career that was actually more suited to my strengths and needs, but the confidence instilled by my mother made me believe that I could accomplish anything I set my mind to. I called upon these strengths once again when, against all odds, I began Mary Kay Cosmetics. In reality, I only planted the acorn from which the giant oak has grown. But this growth came about because we were able to meet a career woman's needs in ways that were not being attempted by any other company. We let a woman learn and grow to her fullest capacity and to be anything she was smart enough to be. I recently heard a very good definition of a woman's needs. From birth to the age 14, she needs good parents and good health. From 14 to 40, she needs good looks. And from 40 to 60, she needs personality. And from 60 on, she needs cash. I agree with this statement, except that with the way our economy is going, she'll probably need cash even sooner. Today, there are more than 40 million women in the labor force, and this number will surely rise as we see an escalation in the cost of educating children, utilizing health care, and providing our families with essential goods and services. Today's women are better educated than they have ever been. Women outnumber men in the nation's undergraduate colleges, and in graduate school, the ratio is almost equal. 51% men, 49% women. As a result, the old-fashioned notion that women's career is 2-year interlude between college and marriage has long last been retired. In my opinion, many women working outside of the home are more interesting, better wives, better parents, and better members of the community, and more knowledgeable than ever before in history. And yet recently, I read a report that really dismayed me. It was a survey taken by the National Industrial Conference Board of New York City, an independent nonprofit research institution founded in 1916 by leading American industrialists. The organization provides objective data on economic trends and practices. The report indicated that while men's salaries have increased to meet rising inflation, women's salaries have remained stagnant. As a result, we are being paid proportionately less than we were in the year of 1939. Even after the Equal Pay Act of 1963, the average woman still earns just 62% of what her male counterpart earns. Perhaps you can then understand my pride when I tell you that the average earnings of a Mary Kay National Sales Director exceeds $100,000. Or my pride when business analysts report that we have more women earning more than $50,000 a year than any other company in the nation. I think you will agree with me that this is truly man-sized pay. Even more exciting is the news that these women are also teaching other women how to do exactly the same. It always troubled me to earn less than my male peers. I knew that a woman had to be twice as good to receive just as much. But as a struggling young career woman, something else troubled me too. That was that I presented new ideas to an employer and was told, "Oh, Mary Kay, you're thinking just like a woman again." At that time, thinking just like a woman meant that there was something wrong with your thinking. It's hard to believe it now, but at the time, most women actually accepted such an idea. We must understand that women had been second-class citizens and had been brainwashed into believing such nonsense. Women, do you think differently from men? But such differences are in no way inferior to or incompatible with the way a man thinks. The truth is that thinking like a woman can be a tremendous advantage. Women have a special intuitive quality that many men do not possess. Let me give you an example. A while back, 2 men from our advertisement staff and I were walking through a hotel lobby. We were on our way to a meeting, and because the hotel was crowded with Mary Kay consultants, people stopped us every few steps. We passed 2 women who were talking quietly and who made no effort to speak to us. Suddenly I stopped. I walked over to them and said, "Is anything wrong? Can we help you?" Our seminars had attracted so much attention that we had found it necessary to issue identification badges, and it seemed that these women had lost theirs. They were on the verge of tears and were standing there not knowing what to do. We made necessary arrangements for duplicate badges and went on to our meeting. As we were moving out of the earshot of one of the men turned to me and said, "That's amazing. How in the world did you know that those women needed help?" All we did was simply pass by. "I really don't know," I answered. "I just knew that something was wrong." My male companions couldn't get over the fact that I could take a single quick glance towards those women and detect a problem. But I believe that women are often more sensitive to the subtle signals people give out and thus notice things most men never see. Our consultants are often very intuitive too. Many times they'll understand what a person means, even though he or she may say the exact opposite. For instance, suppose a woman has a facial, puts on the new cosmetics, looks absolutely terrific, shows great enthusiasm for the products, and then says, "I might buy it some other time." Very often a consultant will sense that the woman is not really revealing the complete story. The woman may even say, "On second thought, I don't like this." The way she looks at herself in the mirror, though, tells the consultant that she really does like it. Using the skills of observation and intuition, a good consultant recognizes the real reason for the hesitation. The woman doesn't believe she can afford the cosmetics. At this point, the consultant can say, "Did I mention to you that you can hold your own skincare classes and earn whatever products you want?" More often than not, the woman will immediately seize the opportunity to earn what she couldn't afford to buy and to pass her enthusiasm on to others. One very interesting example of a woman's intuition occurred when we had opened our first shop in the Exchange Park Mall. You can imagine how desperately I needed consultants, so much so that I applied the 3-foot rule to everyone I met. If they came within 3 feet of me, I asked them if they wanted to be a consultant. By opening day, I had recruited 9 people. There was one man among them who seemed to have more enthusiasm and more ideas than everyone else put together. He looked like a real winner. But somehow, on opening day, I found myself standing with him out in the mall and saying, "I'm sorry, but I just don't think you'll do it." It certainly wasn't because he was a man, and I truly didn't have a single fact to back up my feelings, but my intuition was telling me that something was wrong. Remember, this is our very first day in business, and my life savings were on the line. If the business didn't work out, I would lose everything and have to go back to work for somebody else again. My head was saying, "You idiot, this man has a lot on the ball. But my heart was saying, "You're right, Mary Kay. There's something wrong here." The man was absolutely furious with me and said, "I'll show you. I'll start my own cosmetics business in competition with you." I said, "Well, okay, go ahead. Good luck." 6 months later, I opened the newspaper to see the front page story about him. He had been indicted on a felony charge. If he had been a member of our organization, we may have had a Watergate long before anybody else. Intuition is just one of the special qualities God gave women. Another very precious one is femininity. I truly believe He made us feminine for a reason, and we should always strive to maintain our femininity. I definitely believe that women should pursue any career they wish, but I don't think they should totally abandon looking and acting feminine. There's no reason for a successful woman to behave like a man. For example, it really turns me off when I see a woman dangling a cigarette out of her mouth, and I don't think women should reduce themselves to cursing. I've seen women join in with the profanity when they're around men, and some of them are actually better at it than any man. But I believe this is wrong. I recall one meeting at which I was the only woman present, and someone said, "Since you're here, Mary Kay, I guess we'll have to clean up our language." I said, "Gentlemen, I'm happy to be one of you. I will ask or give no quarter. However, if any of you are looking for an excuse to clean up your language, be my guest." When a woman behaves like a lady, she sets the stage, and as a result, men will conduct themselves as gentlemen. If I know that I will be the only woman present, and this still happens quite often, I go out of my way to dress extra attractively that day. So what if I am a great grandmother? I find that men respect a woman who retains her femininity, and they respond more favorably to her if she presents an attractive appearance. I've also learned that when I'm the only woman present, it's wise to keep my mouth shut until I'm certain that I know what I'm talking about. I do not use the technique out of fear. I have never been afraid to speak my mind, but I recognize that the men present will perceive my views differently than they would of those of other men. I know that when I do speak, they will listen, and I want to be absolutely on target. Recently, I talked to a woman who's been in business many years, and she's made very interesting observations. She believes that men don't expect as much from a career woman as they do from a man. Furthermore, this can be an asset instead of a liability. A well-groomed saleswoman, she told me, can often get in to see a male executive who would turn a man away. In fact, he's likely to hold the chair for her. In other words, men will often give a woman a little extra assistance, and a woman who is smart will take advantage of this small edge. When I stress dressing in an attractive feminine way, I don't mean wearing sexy clothing. A career woman should always dress business-like manner. I am, for example, adamantly opposed to women wearing slacks on the job. We have made safety concessions in our manufacturing and warehouse areas, but in all other departments within Mary Kay Cosmetics, women employees do not wear slacks. We are in the business of helping women look more feminine and beautiful, so we feel very strongly that our beauty consultants should dress accordingly. We suggest they always wear dresses or suits to skincare classes. And we always emphasize well-groomed hair and nails. After all, can you imagine a woman with her hair up in curlers wearing jeans calling herself a beauty consultant and trying to tell other women what they should be doing to look good? Those women would have to think, what in the world can she possibly tell me about looking beautiful? We want our consultants to be the kind of women other women will want to emulate. We're selling femininity, so our dress has to be ultra feminine. I believe that dressing in an attractive manner is an advantage for any woman, no matter what her profession. It just makes sense to have as much going for you as you can. Not long ago, I witnessed a very good example of my point. I had been contacted by a woman, I'll call her Dr. Smith, who was gathering material for a book on self-made American women. Her credentials were very impressive. She had been in business herself, and she held a PhD. My son Richard thought the book was a worthwhile idea, so he and I agreed to spend the afternoon with her. I wanted to look like a chairman of the board for the interview, so on the day she was to fly in from another state, I wore a black silk suit and diamonds. The interview was scheduled to begin at 2. About 5 minutes before 2, I stepped outside of my office and spotted a dreadful-looking woman approaching my secretary's desk. She was wearing a pair of slacks, short-sleeved shirt, and some sneaker-type shoes. She had a masculine haircut, wore no makeup, and really looked as if she should have been out gardening. In fact, her fingernails looked as if she had been out gardening. I knew she couldn't be one of our people because that sort of dress and grooming is taboo in our office. I called my assistant Jennifer aside and said, "For heaven's sakes, get that woman out of here before Dr. Smith arrives." Jennifer came back in a moment and said, "Mary Kay, that is Dr. Smith." I couldn't believe it. Jennifer brought the woman into my office, and we immediately got off to a bad start. Her first question was about our company image, and of course, I had to repeat something she already knew. We stress femininity and good grooming. But as she glanced down at her attire and unkempt hands, it was clear that we had a difference of opinion. I was very relieved when Richard walked in. I thought, oh good, the rest of the afternoon is going to go better. But when he opened the door and glanced at her, he said, "Excuse me," and started to leave. He was certain that he had made a mistake in the schedule. This couldn't be the professional woman we were expecting. "Oh, Richard, just a moment, please," I called. He came back. "Richard," I said, "may I present Dr. Smith?" His face told me that he was completely amazed. Richard spent a total of 5 minutes with that woman before he politely excused himself. He could have contributed immensely to her research, but he was so turned off by her appearance that he didn't want to give her the time of day. I had to think there's a good lesson in the way Richard reacted. He had lost his respect for her when he saw how carelessly she was dressed. No matter what you do or how you restrict your time, you should always make the effort to look your best. After all, you only get one chance to make a first impression. I think it makes sense for women to try to have everything going for her. An attractive appearance is something every woman can achieve if she really wants to do so. I love speaking before women's groups and sharing my beliefs about the special challenges and rewards of being a career woman. Often I will relate my list of helpful don'ts. Don't whimper, cry, or pout to win a point. Don't be late. Don't be afraid to take a stand. And don't ever lose your control or your cool head. There's absolutely no reason why a woman should not succeed in business. All she needs is intuitiveness, foresight, product knowledge, market knowledge, guts, lipstick, clear judgment, a stubborn streak, and a computer. I believe that God gave women special qualities, but because of this, he also requires more of us. Everything a woman touches should be ennobled. We have an obligation to inject into the world affairs all those traits which have long been considered female. These include such things as honor, integrity, love, and honesty. I believe it's wrong for women to feel that they must emulate or copy men in order to succeed. God created the world and he said, "That's good." Then he created man and he said, "That's pretty good. But I can do better." So he created women. You are God's masterpiece. Make the most of it.